Welcome to Owning Life, a podcast about embracing the beginning, the end, and the messy middle of our time on Earth. My name is Karen Jokotifa, Aleye, and I am your host, here to challenge you and empower you and give you tools to help master the season of life that you are in right now. And now it is the holiday season. Christmas is just a couple days away. And that means that New Year's is coming up fast, which is a transition we may face with all sorts of emotions. But I have to say, overall, I do notice a lot of optimism. There is something about a new year and a new start, permission to plan for new adventures and close out some chapters that we're done with now. But I also want to say this because this is real. A lot of people are approaching 2025 and feeling like scared, like there's a lot of unknowns. And I do want to acknowledge that. There's a lot that we don't know and a lot that we don't have control over. But I'm always going to come back to the thing that we do have control over, and that is ourselves. Maybe you want to use your natural gifts and talents to make your own life better, or that of your family, or you're looking broader scale and you're saying to yourself, how do I make a difference in the world? How can I impact change large scale? Any way you're doing it, it's your habits that will make or break how impactful you end up being. And I'm not saying that to judge. I'm not saying that to say you shouldn't have grace for whatever it is that you're able to accomplish. Anything I say to you, I've had to say to myself first, and I really do practice a lot of grace. I've had so many ways, though, that I want to change my life, improve the life of my family, and impact the world. But to do that is going to take a huge amount of discipline and healthy habits and time management, including planned times of rest. And I've tried to organize my own life myself, but honestly, it's too much to juggle. And I'm trying to add more. And I realized as I approach 2025 with a lot of goals and old and unhelpful habits, then I need help if I am going to achieve even some of my goals this year. And these are ones that I've had for years with many stops and starts. I'm having to humble myself enough to say, somebody please help me. Somebody help me see the stumbling blocks in my own planning that are getting in my way or making things harder than they need to be. What am I missing? And then once those things are visible and accounted for, how do I move forward? And then I also had this realization that sometimes we're going to do more for somebody else than we'll do for ourselves. And I feel like we even talked about this last week with Chubby Jones and how if we want to run a mile, it's easier if we run a mile in memory of somebody, or we want to send some positive intention or prayers to somebody. And so we say, this mile we're going to dedicate to this person. And we're able to accomplish that mile even easier. And I think it's similar for any hard thing that we want to do. If we do it in someone else's name, or we do it because someone else is counting on us, or we do it because we know if we do it, this other person will reap the benefits, it's even easier than we're like, we're just doing this for me, right? I wonder if that's why we need coaches. I don't know, but I hate the fact that I need coaches for the things that I already know how to do. Like, I'm a Virgo, I'm a planner, I have so many planners, I know how to do this stuff, but not optimally, right? And so I have to tell myself, even Olympic athletes have coaches. And not just that, Olympic athletes need coaches in order to bring out their best selves. And so if they can have a coach, then I can too. So I'm approaching 2025. I have a lot of goals. And I also have a friend, Darcé Jackson with 401 Enterprises, whose natural gift and talent aligns with what I need right now. Someone to extra organize me, someone to help me prioritize, someone to help me get out of my own way, help me see how I'm setting up my own setbacks, and help me refocus and build healthy habits. I am blessed to have her in my life, and I hope that she inspires you as well. So now I want to welcome my friend and organizational coach, Darcé Jackson. But before we bring her on, I would love for you to do me a favor and subscribe so you will get new episodes every Monday. Okay, let's invite her on. All right, I want to welcome my guest, Darcé Jackson, who is a psychiatric nurse by day and night, because you work a bazillion hours in a day. But in your spare time, you help people like me get their lives together. Yeah,
I do. In the daytime, I cycle with the psych people, and when I'm not with the psych people, I'm living my dream trying to get people organized.
Yay! Well, and we need you, so thank you very much. So yeah, tell the people all about yourself. How'd you get into organization as a passion?
Um, Basically, when I was a kid, people would tell me, Darcé, you'd lose your head if it wasn't attached to your body. I heard that so many times. And well, when I get tired of hearing something and I want to make a change, then nobody has to tell me anything. I just decided, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I decided that I was gonna start putting a place for everything. You know, my book set goes here. I'm done with because I'm still a pretty young kid at the time. And I'm done with this toy. It goes here. And that was the start of my organization appreciation. And from that, I just developed more and more layers of organization on top of it to where, you know, it became just the way I was. I was just an organized person. Um, but when 2018 rolled around, I got married and that was in February. And then in August, I started nursing school, and nursing school is like a steamroller that rolls over you, laughs, reverses, and then again. There were so many stipulations about where you could and couldn't have electronic devices, be that smartphones or smartwatches or whatever. And between being married now and having to remember husband's things, and he had two children already, so I'm trying to keep up with their things because that's what wives do. And the 30 things from nursing school that were due yesterday, my head just wasn't big enough. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, let me try this writing things down again. And that just grew into my love of paper-based planning. And I realized how beneficial it was, how productive it was. My classmates were freaking out because there was a test and they hadn't studied or they had a care plan due, any of the myriad things that they ask you to do when you're in nursing school. And I was just skipping around with my planner and getting the things done. So that is how I went from losing anything that wasn't permanently attached to me to being very, very, very strategic and organized about most of the things that I do.
I'm sort of shocked about that. Like, cause so how old were you? Do you feel like when you figured this out for yourself?
As a kid, I was probably 8 or 9.
When you said I'm done with being forgetful?
Yes, because I don't like for people to tell me, um, not necessarily where people can't give me constructive criticism, but if people are constantly telling me something that is keeping me from, you know, like being the kind of person I want to be, then nobody has to tell me anything. I'm gonna decide, well, this is not who I am, and I'm gonna show you who I am, and that's that.
Okay. I'm sure your parents were impressed and grateful. I'm sure my parents wish I would have done the same.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm sure that there are some things that you did that I am not so great at.
You know, so you've shared with me you feel like this is something that you are like passionate about and passionate about bringing to other people, right? And so what makes you the expert? How are you helping others with
Um,
what you're
the way that I'm helping others is really through what I've learned in my own journey. Before I was a nurse, I was a teacher. Both of them
Mhm.
require a lot of organization. Um, and since I have become a paper-based planner, I get a lot of people who ask, you know, oh, hey, what's that? Or they'll see a spread that I've done with stickers and markers and everything. And,
Mm,
oh, that's so pretty. You know, how do you find the time for that? And my answer is, I make time to plan. I realized that I started getting the same responses from people when they would say, oh, I tried to use a planner and I use it for a week and then it just doesn't work out or forget about it. Or I realized I kept getting the same feedback, and I could see from my own experiences, well, it's because you didn't give it enough time, or it's because of this or because of that. And so I really developed that expertise, trekking the path on my own.
So like here's the real thing, right? So you and I joke a little bit as like we're both Virgos, right? And I do feel like as a as a Virgo, I do like, I mean, look, I have my planner is always with me, and I one of the reasons why I loved your approach is that, paper is your thing, and I want to carry this around with me all the time. I want to have it there to, make notes on it, whatever. So, I've got the structure, or I kind of know what to do, but like why am I what's holding me back? And that, by extension, what's holding other people back, right? They know what to do, even, and they have in their mind that they are like a planner and they do like to keep things organized, but they go off the rails. Like, so what's keeping me and the world at large from being like overall successful?
The three major components that I would say kind of hold people back from experiencing the kind of productivity that they want to see is first, consistent commitment. If you only do something for a week or a couple of days,
All
you're
day.
not going to see the benefits that you would if you committed to it for months or years. For example, there was a conversation that was being had in a group that I'm in about language learning, and um, one of the people in the group said, I want to be able to speak this language fluently. And they said, I want to give myself 2 years to do it. And I said, that's great. Becoming fluent in a language takes a minimum of 5 to 7 years. And you don't think
Mm.
about that. You're like, oh, I want to learn Spanish, or I want to learn, this language or that language. And you don't realize that that's not going to happen overnight, that it's going to take years, almost a decade of your life for you to speak Spanish the same way that a Spanish child speaks Spanish. So you have to have patience with the process. It's going to get frustrating. The more you build something, when you build your foundation, you want to have a strong foundation, but you're going to be building more complex things on top of it. As those things become more complex, they require more of your patience. And so sometimes someone is willing to be consistent. I know that you run from your previous episode, you do the couch to 5K, and you don't
Mm-hmm.
just wake up and run a 5K. You have to do it in small increments. But if you aren't patient with that process of running the 5K or learning your language, and with the complexity that comes on top of your foundation, then you're likely to say, you know what, I'm tired, I give up. The time's going to pass anyway. It's just whether or not you are going to have accomplished or achieved your goal by the end of that same period of time. And the last piece is that you have to be rational and you have to be realistic. I'm going to go
Oh.
back with your couch to 5K. You cannot just get up after you've been a couch potato and go run 5K. It's not going to happen. You are going to, at best, physically exhaust yourself. I'm going to say at best.
At worst, you've damaged your body.
At worst, you've damaged your body. So you have to start small. I have personal goals about increasing my physical activity and my movement. And my goal was to get to where I can work out 30 minutes 3 days a week. But the first action steps that I made with that goal was just to move for 5 minutes every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like, 5 minutes, 5 minutes goes by in the drive through getting coffee from Starbucks. But if you've been sedentary, 5 minutes is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Be rational and be realistic with yourself when you're starting out on an organizational journey. You're not going to transform from haphazard to streamlined, organized overnight or over the course of a month. It might not even be over the course of several months. But if you remain consistent, committed, patient, rational and realistic, it will happen.
Mm. Yeah, definitely called out, right? Because I have the planner, and on my good days I use it, and on my bad days or weeks I don't use it. And I don't have a consistent, times I look at it, and I am a little scattered too. So I put most of it I try to put in the paper planner, but for real, like I use Outlook a lot. That's a way that other people around me like to schedule things. And then, oh my God, there's so many, like people are sending you Google Meets, and people are sending you Teams, and people are sending you, like keeping it all together is impossible because it feels like it's all in different calendars or different apps. And then ideally it's in my paper. But if I don't put it in there, then it's not there. And it could be just the 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm definitely not taking my 5 minutes daily. Okay. Well, so
It's okay. I will give a free tip here.
oh please.
My planner is my external brain. Other people may send me Outlook, they may send me Gmail, they may send me a text message, but my personal process is after someone communicates with me, it goes straight into my external brain. So no matter where it is, I can always go back to my planner to reorient myself.
And that's a habit too, is like in the moment, do it. Because if you don't do it in the moment, or, somehow figure out how to jog your memory, like, if you're driving or something like that and you can't. But as soon as you stop,
And that's what I said. I go everywhere with it. My first answer when someone asks, "Are you available for?" My default answer that I have developed as a habit is, "Let me check my planner." And if I have nothing on that day, if I have nothing written in that little monthly square, we can talk about time. If I do, we can see where what you're asking me to do fits in. And if that day is a day where I reach my limit of things that I'm going to do that day, then we can talk about another day, the day before, the day after. If it's not immediate, next week.
Well, and I'm laughing because one of the ways you said about being realistic with, time but I'm also thinking like I'm not realistic with the amount of stuff that I schedule for myself. Like I think I can do a lot more with my time because I want to like if I'm doing this and I could do this at the same time and like get them both done. I want to do that, but then I end up cramming too many things in like an hour or a day, and then I'm like mad at myself that I have done this to myself, right? So, okay, so I'm gonna work with you as a coach, right? Because I was saying earlier before you came on, like I'm trying to do so many things. All of those have their own systems in place that I need to activate, right? And it won't happen if I don't have a plan. And so knowing that I had all of these big things that I wanted to accomplish, I knew I couldn't do it with my systems in place as they are, right? So what help are you going to give me as a coach? And, understanding like if I hit some goals and not others, like that's okay. Like I may not hit all of my goals, and I think there is sort of power in owning. You got to give yourself some grace. You can only plan so much. Life's gonna get in the way, right? But how am I gonna like be 2026 going like finally did it because I had a coach.
The first thing I say is I can give an alternate perspective. It's always easier for someone that is not in the pool to see what's going on in the pool. If you're in the water and everyone's splashing, you can't see the overall picture the same way that the lifeguard can. And so I give an alternate perspective as a coach, and that's one of the first benefits. I can look outside of your perspective, your view, and look at the whole picture in a way that you kind of can't when you're in it. Another benefit I would say is external support. Um, I'm a very self-motivated person, but you need your community. You need external support to help you along the way because there are some things that even though you have the desire, you put in the work to do it, you still need someone else to support you and or give you access. That's another benefit of coaching. From external support, you can get accountability that you may struggle with sometimes. And that includes myself. Partially, this helps me to remain accountable to my own vision. Putting myself out there, I can't have a dream helping other people get organized if I don't make myself accountable to get other people organized.
Mm.
And teamwork, the saying that everyone says together, everyone achieves more. And that's because everyone is taking in some of the work, and everyone's using what they have, contributing what they have. That's another benefit of coaching, access to knowledge. Because at the end of the day, I love planning. I love planners. And so I sit around ingesting this knowledge all the time because I enjoy it. I enjoy finding out, what new information is out there, or what new product is out there, because maybe sometimes someone's struggling with organization, not because they're not motivated or they don't have the support, they're trying the wrong tools. And so, just because I enjoy this, and it started off as productivity and turned into self-care and enjoyment, I have a lot of knowledge access out there in the planner world about what's happening, what's available.
You have
And
your 10,000 hours.
that part.
You got it. Yeah.
And
And I don't. Yeah.
and then finally, I'd say you get the empowerment of growth, because when you grow and you realize, wow, this is where I've come, this is where I was and this is where I am today. That's very, very empowering, and an empowered person can do just about anything.
Mm. And that's really, what I'm trying to do here, right, is you hit on another thing too, which is community, right? So I'm empowerment is so big for me, of like giving people the tools that they need in order to be successful, or sharing the tools that I'm using to empower my own life, right? So, there's that, and then there's one of my probably biggest lessons that I'll be learning my whole life is that I am not an island. I really have a hard time asking for help. I'm caught up in the idea that I am strong enough and able and capable and I can do everything on my own and I don't need anybody else. My favorite anecdote about this is when I was in like active labor and had been in labor for, I don't know, 15 hours, something like that. I was having trouble. And so they called an acupuncturist because I was at home, and the acupuncturist came, and I'm like, you know, out of my mind basically. But I was like, who's paying her? Someone get me the checkbook.
Not the thing to be worried about.
Well, the acupuncturist was like, I know who you are now. Don't worry about it. It was, I'll never forget that. And I'll always come back to that as someone just like, oh, yeah, you do not have to control every situation. Like, there's a community of people around you who will pay this acupuncturist in this moment.
Right.
In labor, right? And so community is such a big deal to me.
We are designed
don't,
with each
yeah,
other.
exactly. We are designed to be with each other, and we're designed to help one another out. And when we don't have that, we're not living our best lives, and we're losing it on so much.
I will also say one of the things that I had to learn is, okay, Darcé, you are really good at organization. That's your bag, but you're not good at business. And so someone who is good at business dropped into my life, and that person is helping me with the ability to get what I love to do out there so that I can do it. And she's part of my external support in my community. And it's the way it's just the way it should be. You take what you have and you use it to help other people. But I just wanted to have a moment of transparency as a great organizational person, not so great at the business stuff.
Yeah, well, and people say that all the time about my job, and they're like, "Oh, we don't understand how you could like be a mortician, right?" And I'm like, "Well, I can't. I'm not going to be a dental hygienist. Like, there's so many things we're not going to be, right? So we got to like count on our network of people in order to fill in the gaps of,
Right.
what we can do, what we can do, and that's again why we need community. We need a network of people around us. So I do also want to be real, right? Hiring, one of the reasons why people may not hire a coach is because they just don't have the money to do it.
Mhm.
Like that's, that's honest. In that situation where someone just can't do it, can you give some concrete takeaways that they can do, like heading into 2025? They have goals they want to accomplish, they got things they want to do. Can you give them some tips on how to be the most successful?
The first thing I'll say is start today, not tomorrow, today. Tomorrow, especially in this season, everyone is like, oh, well, I'm just going to enjoy my holidays. And on January 1st, it's going to be New Year, and I'm going to change my life. You can change your life today. You do not have to wait until tomorrow to get organized. In the beginning, keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to work. Be kind to yourself and believe that you can do what you desire to accomplish. So if I were to give you simple words to take away, I would say believe, assess where you are, start, be simple, come back and reassess, and then be kind to yourself in the process.
I think those last two, if you don't do those, you'll never, I hate to say never, that's not too big of a word, but
it'll be more challenging.
It will be more challenging. I mean, most likely you're going to fall a day. You know what? You're going to mess up a day, right? If you don't go back and reassess and be kind to yourself, that failure is going to go from 1 hour or 1 day to weeks, And if you could just get back on and just recognize, like, there's a part of the process. It's okay. Like, just try again.
I look at it this way. You never fail. You either succeed or you learn.
There you go. Okay. I like it. Well, I wish everybody a season of succeeding or learning, whatever it is that you need in this moment. I wish the both for everybody. I wish that everybody can achieve as many goals as possible in 2025, that they can rely on themselves, that they can rely on their community. If they can't hire a coach, that they could trade with one another, right? Something you're good at, trade with someone else for the thing that they're good at. There are a lot of ways to get our goals accomplished this year.
That's right.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Darcé, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to having you again next year at the end of my first year with your help and celebrating the ways that I was able to be successful. It's really exciting and empowering, I will say, for me. So super grateful.
Sweet. Thank you.
That is all for today. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Owning Life. Before you go, please do me a favor and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. They come out on Mondays, and I would love to take this opportunity to thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me on this journey of owning life. And thank you for being a part of my community. Community is such an important thing to me. And the more that we can give back to one another, the more that we can share the things that we're good at, the more that we can listen and make space for one another, the better this world is going to be. And we need that going into 2025. So thanks again, and I will see you next week.